All right, we're going to welcome in our political panel right now. Public policy analyst for the University of Texas, Dallas, Merrill Matthews, along with State Director for Texas at Americans for Prosperity, Genevieve Collins. Great to see you both today. Merrill, I want to start with you. Following his win last night, Paxton took a moment during his victory speech to thank President Trump for his endorsement. Take a listen.
Tonight, we just made history. When everyone in Washington told him to abandon me and abandon the people of Texas, he didn't listen. Instead, he gave his complete and total endorsement. President Trump is the leader of our party, and his endorsement in this is the most powerful force in politics.
And this morning on True Social, President Trump, he congratulated Paxton on his win, and he wrote this. He said, "Congratulations, Ken Paxton, on such a tremendous win, and to John Cornyn for having run a strong and powerful race, but more importantly, having had a truly great career." Merrill, talk to us about the Trump effect, and the power of the president's endorsement, and also what it could signal to Democrats heading into November.
The president's endorsement can help, but we need to point out that President Trump waited quite late in this race, and I think the polls were already showing Ken Paxton was going to do very well in this, and now we've got a very expensive race coming up as Democrats see this as a real opportunity. And I'll just point out, in 2018, President Trump, it was a midterm for President Trump, Ted Cruz was running for re-election. He beat Beto O'Rourke, but only by 2.6 percentage points. A Democrat could possibly win this state if the Democrat is popular enough and the Republican candidate is unpopular enough.
Wow. Well, that is shocking. And meantime, we do have this early polling so far. Genevieve showing a dead heat between Paxton and Talarico. Does this surprise you, Genevieve, given, Talarico's radical beliefs that really don't seem to align with most Texans?
Tracy, you're exactly right. Talarico's beliefs don't align with most Texans. And what we've experienced is 5 months now of no one having really landed any hits on Talarico. The state has been locked in this competitive battle between Cornyn and Paxton for 5 months. And now the opportunity is finally coming to pass where Ken Paxton will now officially be able to beat up James Talarico. He's had a free ride for quite a long time, especially over these last 2 months. So I think that this dead heat at the end of May is very much a false hope.
Yeah, I want to turn to this. I mean, the Democrats are really upping their attacks on Republicans, and they have a new desperate ploy. They're trying to convince voters that they're associated with the deceased convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Take a look at this ad from radical leftist Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner. He's doing just that.
Susan Collins' charade is over. We don't care that you are concerned while we go broke as you sell us out to the president and to the Epstein class, who are engineering the greatest redistribution of wealth from the working class to the ruling class in this nation's history.
All right, Merrill, we know a lot of Texans, they summer in Maine, so I want to get your take on this. This is a guy, who made really disgusting past comments in a now deleted Reddit post. I don't know if y'all saw it, but it's saying that sexual assault victims should, quote, take some responsibility for themselves, and they shouldn't drink alcohol so they don't end up in compromising positions. But yet he's saying this about the Republicans.
The Epstein issue has become sort of the latest anti-Semitic dog whistle out there. We had one Democratic candidate running for the 35th district who was making the claim that if she won the election, she would take an ICE detention center and put Jews and Zionists in there and even castrate the Jews. She lost that, fortunately. But this is a real problem that the Democrats are just increasingly embracing this anti-Semitic tone and trying to paint all Republicans with that.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable the things that are coming out of their mouths. I mean, it's beyond shocking, Genevieve. And the RNC responded to these attacks in a statement, writing this, quote, "The same party now trying to weaponize Epstein to distract from their own failed policies spent years cashing Epstein-linked checks. Their outrage is nothing more than cynical political theater from a party with no message and no credibility." Genevieve, what do you make of this? Do you agree?
It is. I completely agree. The RNC's message is right. But let's be honest. People are facing an affordability crisis that started in the Biden era. These are Democrat policies, whether it's inflation, whether it was all of the mandates that were put on citizens as well as businesses. You know, when the Democrat Party is talking about Epstein as their latest dog whistle, as Merrill said, or when they're talking about billionaire donors, well, that's their party. You know, they're the ones that are funded by mega billionaires. And so they should be really attacking themselves rather than pushing that on Republicans. But I think that ultimately, what Texas voters specifically know is that policy matters. And people want fighters here in Texas. They want an affordable life. That's why people keep moving to Texas, why they're not in Maine, and they want to have a sense of stability. That is what we're going to be positioning in Texas, this general election. And I think that it's really disgraceful and sad that Democrats are going to this level of mudslinging so early, and I think that the American people are going to see through that because their claims are relatively baseless, but also tactless.
Yeah, and Merrill, real quick before we run out of time, I mean, it seems like the Democrats are just so out of touch with everyday Americans and everyday Texans.
Absolutely right. The progressives and the Democratic Party are the real energy in the party, and people see that, and they're the ones, the AOCs, the mayors, Mamdani, others are just, they're the ones they're driving the Democratic Party right now and pushing it to the left, and that's going to hurt a lot of traditional Democrats who don't want that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to leave it right there. Thank you both so much for joining us. They really appreciate it.